All right, so coming up on today's Golden State Warriors today, we're going to talk about all of these players here to my right. And I want to pose this question for you all. What do all of these players have in common? OG Anunoby, Myles Turner, Norm Powell, and Pascal Siakam. The Warriors still have an opportunity to really improve this roster, and trades for these players certainly would be fascinating. And we looked across the internet at some potential options for Golden State to make some moves for these players, and we're going to talk about them right now. 4 bold trade ideas for the Golden State Warriors is on the docket for today's show, all pertaining to OG Anunoby, Myles Turner, Norm Powell, and Pascal Siakam. So if that was your guess at the start of the show, you got it right. Trade idea number 1. Let's talk about OG Anunoby here. First player on that list, a Warriors trade with the Toronto Raptors for Anunoby. Now, Anunoby's been a consistent target for Golden State, at least in the rumor circle, because the Warriors literally reached out to the Toronto Raptors earlier this offseason, according to reports, and they wanted to trade Jordan Poole to Toronto in exchange for OG Anunoby. So clearly, the interest is there. Now, obviously, Jordan Poole is now playing for the Washington Wizards. So who could Golden State give up in order to get back Anunoby? How about Gary Payton II, Jonathan Kuminga, and a 2026 first-round pick? Jonathan Kuminga is this intriguing young player who, when he's right, when he's engaged, can defend at a really high level, has a lot of offensive potential. Honestly, best case scenario for Kuminga might be over time to become an OG Anunoby type of player, because look at the development that's taken place north of the border for Anunoby with the Raptors. 2019-2020, he's only averaging 10.5 points per game, 50.5% on his field goals. And then over the next few years, the offensive arsenal grows. He gets a little bit better, really improves his offensive craft while remaining as a very good defensive player. And because of the versatility, I'll continue to be intrigued by OG Anunoby. He's a really good two-way threat. He might get in the way of Andrew Wiggins just a little bit. I think that an Andrew Wiggins trade for Anunoby might make more sense because they're both very similar. A homecoming to Canada for Andrew Wiggins. I like Jonathan Kuminga, and I want to continue to see what he can do for the Dubs. But look, you don't address the size issue with this trade, but you bring in a very good and still young wing in this league. So will the Warriors ever address the size issue on this basketball team? No player on the roster taller than 6'9", 6'10". Dario Saric is listed at 6'10". I'm calling cap. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Trade idea number 2. A move, and it would be a finesse move for Myles Turner. I'm talking just finessing the Indiana Pacers to make a move like this. The young cats know. Trade idea number 2 has the Dubs getting Myles Turner, the Pacers get Gary Payton II, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and a 2026 first-round pick. The common theme with some of these trades here is the Dubs giving up some money in Gary Payton II to match the player coming in, and young assets like a Jonathan Kuminga, like a Moses Moody, and a 2026 first-round pick. Turner, I think, is the best option for Golden State, and he's the option that makes sense the most because of what we just discussed, teeing up that poll question of the Warriors' lack of size. Myles Turner, he's shown throughout his entire career, very good two-way player. As you look at the numbers, he's a very, very good shot blocker and rim protector, runs the floor well. He can hit the three ball as well. No season better at draining the long ball than this past year for Myles Turner. 37% from 3, and you just think of the lineup opportunities here. If you want to start Chris Paul, you can still afford to do that. If you want to bring in Chris Paul off the bench, which I think makes more sense, then you can certainly do that. Potential starting lineup with Myles Turner, you think about all the possibilities at the fingertips of Steve Kerr here. Steph Curry, elite scorer, good distributor, good creator for himself and others. Klay Thompson, two-way player who can hit the 3. Jonathan Kuminga, your young athletic stud. Draymond Green, He's at the 4. Myles Turner can play that 5. You can put Andrew Wiggins in for Jonathan Kuminga if you wanted. You can keep Jonathan Kuminga in that starting lineup. I like that versatility. And then I teased this a little bit earlier. If you want to start Chris Paul, you can start Chris Paul. And this would probably obviously be when you need to go up against a team with a different lineup combination. If you want to have that lethal 2 ball handler type of lineup with CP3 and Steph Curry, that could cause the opposing team a lot of fits. Draymond Green still able to play at his normal position at that 4. And then Klay Thompson might have to get tasked with some tough defensive duties, but we've seen him defend at a really high level. Now make sure you like this video if you love the Golden State Warriors, and if you like our coverage, show us some love by hitting that thumbs up icon. Do you want Myles Turner on the Dubs? I want you to type me if you do. If not, I want you to comment why down below in the comment section. Let's hear from Dub Nation. Trade idea number 3. Now this is a move that wouldn't be able to happen until January because Chris Paul's already been moved a couple of times, where the Warriors make a trade that sends CP3 to the Clippers. And this would probably also mean, obviously, that the Clippers not able to land James Harden, who is said to want to play for the Clippers. The Clippers need a point guard. They need a rim pressurer. They need a guy who can initiate and set up the offense. CP3 would be able to do that, and him as a fit alongside Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, I think would be a good fit that you go all in on trying to win a championship this year. So the Warriors here would receive Norm Powell, very good guard who can give you 20 points per game every single night, and Robert Covington, a.k.a. Rocco, who's a good 3-and-D player. Clippers get Chris Paul and a first-round pick in 2028. Norm Powell, over the last few years, has turned into a very good offensive player. 16 points per game, 18.5, 19, and 17 last year. He's really improved his outside shot too. He's hovered the last 4 years around 39, 40, 41, 42% from distance. He can create, he can shoot. Not going to give you a ton defensively, but if you need an offensive scoring punch, Steve Kerr did say, we brought in Chris Paul because we were too one-dimensional last year. Norm Powell, he will help that one-dimensional approach. So you think about all of these trades in general. You bring in a scorer like Norm Powell. You bring in a big like Myles Turner. You bring in a two-way wing in OG Anunoby. And for Robert Covington, he helps your defense. He has that length where he could defend some really good wings across the league. He, too, a pretty good spot-up three-point shooter. He is not going to put the ball on the deck. He's, in fact, incapable of doing that. But a throw-in to help you in an area last year in which you struggled, which was on the defensive end of the floor, that could help you. He's past his prime, but he can certainly still play at this point of his career as a guy who can knock down some open three-point shots and then also defend at a really high level. Trade idea number 4, Pascal Siakam. Warriors make a trade to bring in Siakam to the Bay Area, and Siakam, according to reports, looks as though a trade of him is going to happen. Mark Medina with this report recently, it seems inevitable the Toronto Raptors will deal Pascal Siakam. They expect a strong deal for return in the form of quality rotation players, expiring contracts, and draft picks, all qualities that help accelerate a rebuild. So do the Warriors check off those boxes? Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, Gary Payton II, and a 2026 first-round pick. That's the trade that could appease Toronto. They're able to rebuild on the fly, a homecoming for Wiggins to go back to Canada. You get a young player you can build around in Kuminga, and the Raptors have done a really good job of developing wings, like what I said earlier with OG Anunoby and players in general. Gary Payton II, a contract that doesn't really hurt you in the long haul. And then if you do want to rebuild, if you're Toronto, 2026 first-round pick. That's a lot to give up for Siakam. It's not a move that I would make, but Siakam, he's on the table. He is available. That's why it makes sense to discuss him as a trade candidate. Last 4 years for him. Again, I've said this a couple of times here on the show. Toronto Raptors and the Miami Heat, two of the best organizations in the sport at maximizing players, developing them, pinpointing them, identifying them, and then developing them into really solid players. And the development for Pascal Siakam, who coming up looked like a baby gazelle who just came out the womb, he's turned into a really good player over time on both ends of the floor. You make the call. Trade for Pascal Siakam. Give me a T for trade or a P for pass. A couple of really notable players who we're talking about on today's Golden State Warriors today. Make sure you subscribe if the Warriors do make a move. You know who's going to break it down? Your boy here. Where? Same time, same place on Warriors Today. Hit that sub button, and we'll catch you next time here on the show.